What's going on, everyone? So with my latest video, you guys clicked on it, so you know what? I'm giving you guys my top 10 most anticipated films of 2026. Now, do keep in mind I'm filming this video on December 20th of 2026, so if there are any title changes or change of release dates, meaning that some of them might be pushed back to 2027, keep in mind that because I'm filming this on December 20th of 2025, I don't have a crystal ball, so I don't know that as of right now, the filming of this video, but I am excited to give you guys this list, especially since I know that at the end of the day, film is subjective, not objective, meaning your list is going to look different than mine, and that's what I love. For me, if you're new to the channel, I'm just going to say this right away. If you're expecting a lot of MCU films or big blockbusters or DC films, you're going to be unfortunately disappointed because for me, I will go see IP-driven films 100%. I try to watch all different kinds of films, but at the end of the day, I am drawn to casts, stories, directors. I mean, for crying out loud, I've ranked over 100 directors on my channel. That's right. That's a lot. So for me, that is what the meat and potatoes of this video will be, where I'm like, you know what? I don't even really necessarily know a lot about this film other than this is the cast and then this is the director. And that's enough for me to say, all right, I'm excited for it. So do keep that in mind. There will be a couple IP films on here, but for the most part, these are going to be films that are auteur driven. So I will give you guys 5 honorable mentions, and I'll go from 10 to 1, with number 1, of course, being my most anticipated film of 2026. And I do look forward to seeing your list down below. But guys, enough exposition. Let's get started. So kicking things off with honorable mentions, we do have an IP-based film, and that is 28 Years Later, The Bone Temple, which is directed by Nia DaCosta, which is a director that at this point in time, I've seen all of her work up till this film, and I will say that Candyman is what ultimately got me excited for this film, alongside the fact that 28 years later, I'm a big fan of. I think the fact that that film was able to disguise itself as a horror film, but then actually be a survival family drama is just amazing, especially with the themes that it tackled. It was amazing. I really liked that film. I'm excited to rewatch that film. And this is a film that it's a different director. It's not directed by Danny Boyle. It is directed by Nia DaCosta. And based on her work in Candyman, I'm pretty excited for this film, combined with its predecessor being really good. So I'm excited for this film. That's ultimately why it's an honorable mention. Next up, we have another IP film. Funny enough, but I'm excited for it, not because of nostalgia, but because of the director, and that is Narnia, The Magician's Nephew, which is directed by Greta Gerwig. I just got done filming my Noah Baumbach director ranking list, and of course, she is married to Noah Baumbach, and I said it about Noah Baumbach, and I'll say it about Greta Gerwig. They are all tours that I'm very excited for because they prefer shooting film over digital. It's not to say shooting digital is necessarily a bad thing. There are plenty of films that are shot digitally that look really good. But the fact that they really want to keep and preserve, shooting on film, especially for a big blockbuster, is something that really has me excited. I'm also really excited to see that the fact that she's directing honestly one of the most obscure entries in the Chronicles of Narnia. And I say that as someone that grew up in a very religious household that read all of the Narnia books. Like, this is an entry that I am very curious to see how it's going to be adapted, not only because I'm a big fan of Greta Gerwig and her vision, but also because it's not like Prince Caspian. It's not like the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe, where there's a lot of battle scenes and, you can kind of make it seem like Harry Potter and Lord of the Rings. This is going to feel very different, and I'm very excited the fact that they're doing that. Not a big fan of Netflix right now, but I am very curious to see what an auteur is going to be doing with a huge budget. Carte blanche, I'm all for it. So I have Narnia, The Magician's Nephew, as an honorable mention. Next up, we have The Dog Stars, directed by Ridley Scott. One of my favorite directors, same director that gave us Alien, Blade Runner. Of course, he also did like Prometheus, Alien Covenant, Kingdom of Heaven, Robin Hood. I really respect him as a director. Gladiator, he's a great director, and he is one that I will consistently watch. The cast also looks really intriguing. Just overall film, I'm very much so looking forward to, and that's why I have it as an honorable mention. Next honorable mention, we have Werewolf, which is directed by Robert Eggers, the same director that gave us Nosferatu, The Northman, The Lighthouse, and of course, The Witch. Love this director. He is, in my eyes, 4 for 4. I'm excited to see him possibly go 5 for 5. This is definitely one of those instances where I'm curious to see how audiences will like this film, because it's going to be apparently very period accurate with the dialogue and, of course, the authenticity of the production design, costume design. So I'm excited. I think that at the very least, the filmmaking will be great. And I'm always looking forward to a Robert Eggers film. And that's why I ultimately had it as an honorable mention. And the last honorable mention, we have this was the film so close to making my top 10, and that is Artificial, which is directed by Luca Guadagnino, who he has been working frantically, man. Like, he is the same director that did Suspiria, which is, quite frankly, one of my favorite remakes, readaptations. Directed Queer, Challengers, Call Me By Your Name, Bones and All. I love this director. I think that he's a director that has gotten better and better. I think that Call Me By Your Name onwards, he's a director that just has really struck a chord with me, and one that when I see his name attached to something, I'm like, I'm sold. Cast also looks amazing, and with what it's tackling, I'm very much so intrigued to see his take on it, because at the end of the day, he is a very strong filmmaker. So I'm looking forward to see how this film is, and it's ultimately why I have Artificial as my last honorable mention. And now we get to the nitty-gritty top 10, guys. My number 10, this is a film that I might talk a little bit more than the other entries. My number 10 is The Adventures of Cliff Booth, which is directed by David Fincher and written by Quentin Tarantino. Now, look, I am going to be blunt. In fact, I might put the text conversation off here to the side or here. I will be blunt. When I heard the news of this film, I thought it was an April Fool's prank because it was announced on April Fool's. I thought it was actually hilarious. I'm like, yeah, David Fincher is going to direct a Quentin Tarantino screenplay. Yeah, of course. And even when I realized that this was real, I still was very skeptical. And to be quite frank, I'm still skeptical. But I can't not put a David Fincher film on my most excited list of 2026 because I love him. I think he's an incredible filmmaker. He is very articulate. He is very much so precise. He is, in my eyes, a modern-day Stanley Kubrick with what he's able to achieve. And I do think that at the end of the day, it's written by Quentin Tarantino. So it's one of those things where even if I don't like the film, it's one of those things where it's an experimental film. These are two different styles that on paper should not work. But they could work, potentially. And if they do, we're going to have a great film and a great companion piece to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, just from a different viewpoint. So, again, it's one of those things where my immediate reaction, my knee-jerk reaction was, yeah, okay, sure. But, I've kind of gravitated towards, okay, let's see how this works. I hope it does. And that's ultimately why I have it as my number 10. But, yeah, Once Upon a Time. The Adventures of Cliff Booth is my number 10. Next up, my number 9, we have Flowerville Street, which is directed by David Robert Mitchell, the same director that gave us It Follows. And I will just say this. I think this is a really good director. And I think the fact that he's working with like Anne Hathaway, and if you read the premise, it's one of those instances where it seems like it's a match made in heaven for me. Very much so looking forward to this film. It seems very original, very unique. And I can't wait for this film, man. I really can. And that's why I ultimately have it as my number 9. Next up, my number 8, we have Wuthering Heights, which is directed by, and I apologize in advance if I get this director's name wrong, Emerald Fennell. She is a director that, for me, I'm 2 for 2. I think she did a really good job with Promising Young Woman, although I will say that I've soured a little bit on that film with how it copped out with the ending. I think that the happy ending was something I can see why they did, but in retrospect, I think it kind of should have been cut out to really make that ending more impactful. I do think that Saltburn was very well crafted. I do need to rewatch it. I'll probably do so before Wuthering Heights. But she's, as far as I'm concerned, a director that I greatly admire. I respect with what she's doing. And Wuthering Heights, my wife, ironically enough, is reading the book. And she is feeling kind of so-so on it at this point from what she's told me. But she's told me that the film adaptation looks very interesting. And I agree. I mean, it's shot on VistaVision, which Begonia, One Battle After Another, The Brutalist have all been shot on. And it's one of those things where I can't help but be excited for this film, man. The cast, the way it's shot, like it looks very similar to like The Red Shoes, like 1940s, cinema. And I just think it's going to be at the very least, a visually encapsulating film with really good performances. So I'm very curious. And at the same time, like this is going to be an adaptation that is going to stand on its own, I think. So I'm excited for this film. I really am. And that's ultimately why I have Wuthering Heights as my number 8. Next up, my number 7, we have Dune Part 3 or Dune Messiah. It keeps going back and forth. I see different headlines with what it's called. But this is Denis Villeneuve's newest film. One of my favorite directors working today. He's done Incendies, Prisoners, Sicario, Blade Runner 2049. He is a fantastic director. I think Dune 1 and 2 are really, really good. And I'm very excited and also curious to see what this third entry is going to do. Because as far as I'm concerned, even if Dune Part 3 doesn't work, Dune Part 2 works so well as a final chapter that I'm satisfied by this series as it is. So all this can do is just really kind of hit home how much Dune Part 2 worked So I'm excited for this film. And I think that I have a feeling Denis Villeneuve's going to hit it out of the park. I really do. And I also like the fact that this film apparently is shot on film as opposed to the other two being shot digitally. So there's that. I'm very excited for this film, man. And that's why it's my number 7. Next up, my number 6. Ironically enough, I watched one of the director's films last night, and that is David Lowery's Mother Mary, which ironically enough stars Anne Hathaway, which she is also in Flowerville Street. I am beyond pumped for this film. I saw the first 30 seconds of the trailer that recently dropped, and that's all I needed. I needed just that, as well as the fact that it stars Anne Hathaway, and it's directed by David Lowery. I rewatched last night The Green Knight, and Ghost Story, as far as I'm concerned, is one of my favorite films of this decade. He's just a great director, man. He knows what he's doing. I think that the themes of time are something that he does such a great job of really reinvigorating himself with each film that he does. And so I'm very curious to see how he's going to encapsulate that into Mother Mary. And I just think as a whole, it's going to be a really good film. It seems like one of those instances where it's a great cast combined with a director, and it's going to make really good cinema. So I'm looking forward to Mother Mary, and that's why I have it as my number 6. And now, guys, I'm happy to say we're in the top 5. So, kicking things off with my number 5, we have I Love Boosters, which is directed by Boots Riley. Boots Riley, I've only seen one of his films, which was Sorry to Bother You, and that was one of my favorite films of 2018. It's an incredible film. As far as I'm concerned, it's my generation's Being John Malkovich. I love that film. Found it very relatable, too. That's one of those films where it was perfect timing when it came out because it's all about a call center. And when that film came out, I just started working at a call center job. And it was one of those things where it really clicked. And I'm like, yeah, this is pretty accurate. But at the same time, there are a lot of surreal moments in that film. And the third act is just insane. It's either going to make or break the film for you. For me, it made it. And it's just one of those instances where I am down for another surreal comedy, and I'm pretty sure that's what this film is going to be. So I'm very much so looking forward to it. I think Boots Riley is a very interesting director and writer, and I'm very, 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 very curious and excited for his new film, which is, of course, I Love Boosters. So that's why I Love Boosters is my number 5. Next up, my number 4, we have one of those films that I mentioned earlier in the video about how it got renamed. It was originally called Judy, but the, I don't want to say teaser trailer, it's more like the announcement trailer dropped, and it's actually got changed to my number 4 being called Diggers, which is the new Alejandro Gonzalez NR2 film, which also, ironically enough, stars Tom Cruise. And I say ironically because Tom Cruise is one of those, actors that when he was working in the 80s and 90s, he was doing a bunch of different films. He's one of those actors that he started doing that, and then by the late 2010s, early 2020s, he was known as the guy that did a lot of stunts in action films, specifically the Mission Impossible movies. This is not the case for this film. This is going to be a comedy film, and in many ways, I predict it's going to be similar to Birdman, where it's a self-reflection of the actor that NR2 decided to focus on. So I think Tom Cruise is coming for his, Oscar. I think that at the very least will probably be nominated for this film. And he is an actor that a lot of people don't give credit for it, of him having range. He is a really good actor. And, watch Magnolia, watch The Last Samurai. He is incredible in those roles. So I'm very excited for this film. I think that, the filmmaker combined with the actor really has me excited, and is ultimately why it is my number 4. Next up, my number 3, we have, it's called Her Private Hell. This is the newest Nicholas Winding Refn film, who I recently heard wrapped filming and is coming out next year. And someone said it, and I was like, yeah, they got a point. Nicholas Winding Refn hasn't directed a film in almost a decade. In fact, it will be a decade when it comes out, which is kind of insane, but it makes sense because I realized that, yeah, he's been active, but he's been active in the TV show scene, not in the film scene. So I'm very curious to see what he's going to do post Neon Demon, because he's one of those directors that post Drive, he has really been focusing on just visual storytelling, as little dialogue as possible in his films. So I'm very curious to see what his new film is going to be. And at the very least, I know it's going to be mesmerizing to watch visually. So I'm excited for this film, which is ultimately why it is my number 3. Next up, my number 2. This is one that many people are going to have as their number 1. And I can honestly respect that, because for me, it was my number 1 originally, but last minute I changed it out. My number 2, we have The Odyssey, which is the new Christopher Nolan film. I love Christopher Nolan. I think he's a fantastic director. I know he has some detractors. For me, I greatly respect with what he's able to do with combining, the spectacle of blockbusters with, his art house roots of having it where there's some big ideas. So that melding, I think, works really well. I mean, that's why we got something like Oppenheimer. It's why we got something like The Dark Knight, Memento, Prestige. Like he's a very versatile director, and similar to David Lowery, which of course they're not the same length in regards to like altruism, but they both are obsessed with time, and I really do think that the focus of time in the Odyssey will be very interesting to say the least. So I am seeing Avatar: Fire and Ash in a couple days, and when I do, I might be seeing the prologue apparently to the Odyssey, so that will probably make me even more excited. But either way, the Odyssey, great cast. Great director, great composer, great cinematographer. It's one of those things where it's pretty much a slam dunk that I'll probably like this movie because, again, as far as I'm concerned, he's one of the few directors that has yet to make a miss for me completely. Even something like Tenet, that I think is just solid. I do think it has its merits. And, I love the fact that he is a big proponent of cinema, films in theaters, and shooting on film. So I'm excited for this film, and that's why I have it as my number 2. Next up, my number 1. This is a film that it was originally called The Dish, and then it got changed, and then the trailer dropped. And so this is going to be probably the official title name. And that is my number 1, Disclosure Day, which is directed by Steven Spielberg. And I'm a huge fan of Steven Spielberg. I think he's one of those directors that the fact that he's been working as long as he has and has been able to consistently make great films is amazing. And I think the fact that he also makes smart blockbusters is also something that I cherish. Now, I understand that in terms of, the box office, he's been more of a miss lately, but I think also at the same time, audiences have changed. Like, they prefer more of like IP-based stuff. So I understand that, and I don't think that's the fault of Spielberg. I think Spielberg has been consistent in regards to, like, when you watch his films, you can immediately pinpoint the great filmmaking, and you can honestly analyze it. And that's even more of his, like remakes, like West Side Story, even something like that. You can sit down and watch and analyze to death because his directing is fantastic. Something like Disclosure Day, honestly, the premise really struck me. The cast struck me. Seeing that John Williams came out of retirement to do the score, the cinematographer, everything was coming together. And then I saw the trailer, and it reminded me of when I saw the trailer for Super 8, where I was so intrigued by the mystery involved. And I was like, okay, this is it. This is a great teaser trailer. I don't need to know anything else. I don't need to see the regular trailer months from now. I'm sold. This is my most anticipated film, and honestly, what's great about it, especially, is that it's coming out close to my birthday. So this could be a great birthday gift. So Spielberg, your move. I hope this film's great. That's ultimately why I have it as my number 1. But you guys, let me know your top 10 most anticipated films of 2026. I'm very curious to see what it is down below, but I appreciate you guys for watching. Up the subscription, notification bell, follow me on Letterboxd, Patreon, and I will catch you guys later.